In 1988, John McTiernan directed a movie with Bruce Willis starring as John McClane in the kick-ass Christmas action movie Die Hard. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Scott, and I talk movies. I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. Today, we're talking about my favorite movie of all time and the best Christmas movie of all time, Die Hard. As you can see, right here, I have my Nakatomi Plaza Christmas Party 1988 shirt. Now, before we get started, I'm just going to get it out of the way. The big question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? To where I respond, yes. Absolutely. I say this because it has Christmas trees, people saying Merry Christmas, Christmas references, and of course, in the end credits at the very end, Let It Snow plays. If that's not Christmas, what is it? What is Christmas? So this movie was made in 1988, starring Bruce Willis as New York cop John McClane and Alan Rickman as the amazing villain Hans Gruber. This movie was directed by John McTiernan, who had just got done directing Predator, and was produced by Joel Silver, who had previously directed other action movie hits like Predator, as mentioned, Lethal Weapon, and Commando. Speaking of Commando, this movie was supposed to be Commando 2. They were going to have John Matrix's daughter work in LA and have John Matrix show up to a party in her office and then it get taken over by terrorists. And then, of course, John Matrix being the action movie hero. But they decided not to do that. They decided to make it Die Hard instead of Commando 2, make it its own thing, because, for one, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't want to return. He didn't really like sequels at the time, because T2 exists, of course. But, and the other reason is because they wanted to base it off the book Nothing Lasts Forever. And once Predator hit theaters and was a huge hit, 20th Century Fox, who produced Predator and Die Hard, knew they had the right director with John McTiernan. Something else I thought was interesting was the casting possibilities of John McClane. Arnold Schwarzenegger, as mentioned, was offered the role, but he, of course, declined. Other big tough guys at the time, like Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, and Clint Eastwood, were all offered the part, but they all declined. I believe even Richard Gere was offered to play McClane, but I can't even picture that. So then the producers had the idea of John McClane being an average, everyday man and not being a big, bulky Schwarzenegger or Stallone. So that led to the production casting Bruce Willis in the role, which disappointed some audiences at the time because he was most known for starring in the rom-com series Moonlighting. But once Die Hard hit theaters, Bruce Willis became the man that we know him today. Casting Hans Gruber was really easy because apparently Joel Silver went to a play where he saw Alan Rickman as the lead, and he was like, yo, you want to be in my movie? And he was like, and Rickman, who had never been in a movie, was like, yeah, sure, I'll do. And I'm so glad he agreed because he delivers one hell of a performance. Alright, with all the behind the scenes facts out of the way, let's get into the review. Starting off with the positives. So, as mentioned, this is my favorite movie of all time, so I'm going to have a lot of good things to say about it. First of all, you got a kick-ass action movie with a good action movie hero who we relate to and has humor, and we have a really good villain. And the plot of this movie is great. A man, cop from New York, coming to Los Angeles, who's kind of on and off with his wife, at her Christmas party, which gets hijacked by terrorists, and then him having to be the one to put an end to it, and then eventually saving his wife. That's just amazing. Perfect. Perfect story. Even the characters of the terrorists are fun and enjoyable, and all memorable. Like Carl, he's Hans' right-hand man, and seems very menacing throughout the movie. And then you got Toady, who looks like the spitty image of Jeffrey Dahmer. And then you, of course, got Uli, who eats Crunch Bars. Another thing I love about this movie is all the foreshadowing that takes place. An example of this is when, at the very beginning, when John McClane's on the plane, the dude next to him is like, take off your shoes and your socks and make fists with your toes. And then, of course, later, as you all know, John McClane doesn't have shoes on throughout the movie. So I think that's brilliant. And another example is when the police chief is talking to McClane through the CB, and then he's like talking about like, yeah, there's glass everywhere. And McClane responds,
"Who gives a shit about glass? Who the fuck is it?"
And then later, during a shootout in one of the office rooms, a shitload of glass is on the floor, which of course makes McClane's feet bleed. So as mentioned, this is the perfect action movie that's very straightforward and has a perfect protagonist and a perfect antagonist. And with all that, it sprinkles in just a little bit of some Christmas joy. Something else that is so great and makes this stand out from other action movies is that it takes place on one night, Christmas Eve, at one place, the Nakatomi Plaza, which, by the way, was filmed inside and outside of the 20th Century Fox Studios building, and was actually while filming under construction, which explains the unfinished floor that you see in the movie. And just that one scene alone where John McClane jumps from the top of the building as soon as Hans presses the detonator and the explosions in the background, it's just peak. Now getting into the negatives. If I had to have one microscopic minor nitpick, it would be the character of Richard Thornburg, only because because he had way more screen time than he needed to, and it's like, why do we care about this bum reporter? But it's okay, it's not that bad. It's just a minor nitpick, and that's it. But no negatives. This movie is perfect. Getting into the best kill. Now, this is only something I'm gonna do if I'm reviewing an R-rated movie. I'm not going to be generic by saying that Hans Gruber Fall from the Nakatomi Plaza is the best kill. The best kill, to me, is a terrorist named Marco, who gets shot multiple times by McClane, who's under the table. This is my favorite because it's graphic and it's peak John McClane, because after killing him, he drops the one-liner,
"Thanks for the advice."
In summary, Die Hard is a great kick-ass action movie filled with gunshots and explosions, and good characters. So if you haven't seen Die Hard already, definitely go watch it. I couldn't recommend it enough. So with that, Die Hard, I rate 10 out of 10, and on Letterboxd, I rate 5 out of 5 stars. I hope everyone has had a Merry Christmas and has a Happy New Year. So until next time, I'm Scott, and I talk movies.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.